Deadly Tarantula Girl coming to you from my private serpentarium tonight to do a specially requested video by a Serbian viewer by the name of, I hope I don't butcher this, Nemanja Belinovic, and he or she, I'm not sure, emailed me asking about handling tarantulas, and I loved the email so much I would like to read it to you. The viewer said, just want to say that I'm so in love with all your videos about so many beautiful animals. Got a tarantula about a year ago, Avicularia Versicolor, which since is Caribena. Watched all your videos about it and kind of got the need to try and hold it. Is there any special video that I should pay attention to? I'm sure you get a lot of messages like this and would be full of understanding if you don't answer. Just keep on doing what you do because that collection of animals is so big and gorgeous. Greetings from Serbia and big waves from Nemanja. So I responded and said, thank you, I'm so excited. Thank you for your kind words. I'm so excited to have viewers from overseas. And so we emailed back and forth a little bit. And what I decided was I told the correspondee that I would actually make a video about it. So I want to make a disclaimer right now. I know a lot of people frown upon the handling of tarantulas, and more power to you. I respect your opinion and I understand why you feel that way. I certainly understand the possible dangers. But I also know that if you're going to own an animal, you need to be prepared to possibly catch it at some point for that animal's safety. Now, I'm not saying I want to hold an H-back, but if it, came to the animal's safety, I probably would. It's not my first species of choice to handle. However, there are some that are fairly docile that I don't necessarily think that it hurts to handle. I have a lot of people emailing asking me questions like, I love looking at my tarantula and taking care of it, but I'm a little afraid to hold it. Should I learn how to hold it? And I tell people that tarantulas are more of an educational or display animal. They do not crave attention. They do not need to be held, unlike some cats or dogs or sugar gliders or birds. But I do feel that it is important, number one, to be prepared to handle them in the case of an emergency. Number two, to learn how to handle your animal carefully if that is something that you want to try and do. It's kind of like, it's not a good idea to get drunk, but if you do, I'm going to hope that you drink at home and don't drive. So this is your video about drinking at home and not driving. So I'm going to do this in 2 stages, holding a baby Versicolor and then holding a subadult or adult Versicolor. So I wanted to thank Nemanja and all my Serbian and all my overseas viewers. I love you guys so much. Now let's get started. I am starting here with a young Versicolor. Oh, he has food in his mouth. Okay, I don't want to bother this guy. I'm gonna get another one. Unfortunately, I just fed my entire nursery rack within the last hour or so, and every single baby Versicolor that I have is eating right now. So I'm actually going to film the nursery segment tomorrow. So let's go ahead and take a look at a subadult / adult. You can see this animal has some pretty intricate burrowing. I like not to damage the webbing if possible, although sometimes they will fasten the web to the lid, and there's no way to feed them without at least pulling it apart. So that, what can you do? You have to take care of your animal. First rule of thumb, I try not to damage their web if I don't have to, and then I use a small, gentle, something long, usually a paintbrush is the easiest thing. And what I like to do is kind of put it underneath them to sort of encourage them to climb toward the top. And I just very, very gently coax the animal to the surface of the enclosure. And I also want to say that if there is an animal who seriously seems like it does not want to be held, I don't hold it. I also don't hold animals that are feeding. They're just common courtesies that you want to follow in the tarantula world. I don't want to stress out my animal or honestly what I consider disrespect them, because I feel like I have a mutually respectful relationship with the animals, and I think that that's why in general they are more calm and relaxed with me, and why I don't usually get attacked by anything, even animals that attack other people. One thing with arboreals that you need to know, since this viewer specifically asked about Versicolor, is that they will typically climb up. And that's more to know if you have an animal just totally running wild. So let's say this animal was running up my arm and I could not get it back in the enclosure, which this one's being really sweet and calm. What I would do is just take the enclosure and tip it up and have the animal run up into it, because arboreal tarantulas have a natural instinct when they're afraid to climb up. And so there's just kind of this really easy thing that you can do with terrestrial or arboreal, where you just kind of walk your hands and let them come onto your hand as they like, or stand still. And that's also a nice gentle way to transfer a tarantula from one person to another if you have someone that wants to hold your tarantula or you're transferring it. One thing that's going to make your animal trusting and comfortable is feeling like they have a lot of support. So kind of letting them choose the direction that they want to go, and having my hands kind of making them as big as possible, which my hands are pretty small. That is one thing that tends to make them more comfortable. Some people prefer to pinch grab their tarantulas, which is where you just grab them in the middle of the body. And I've even seen that done with sturmii. That may be considered safer because it's difficult for them to bite you, but I don't think that they prefer it. And I actually enjoy the feeling of them walking across me. Their little tarsi actually kind of gently, oh, I'm sorry. Just that little cloud of air startled her. So you notice my breath just startled her. And if you're a person who's going to throw a tarantula or drop a tarantula if they startle, do not try to hold it. And do not ever try to kiss your tarantula. I've seen lots of very strange videos with people doing weird things, and I don't recommend that. I need to repeat that I am not encouraging anyone who does not want to handle their tarantula. I do not condone tarantula handling. They do have fangs. None of my animals are defanged. Anything with a mouth can bite. And if you're holding a tarantula, you run the risk of being bitten. She is indicating to me that she is done being held. And so I'm going to just gently allow her to walk back into her enclosure and very respectfully end this interaction. If she doesn't walk forward, I will just gently tickle her with the paintbrush to try and coax her along. And also with an arboreal, sometimes it's hard to get them down and back in. So you can just kind of use their hands to close off that space. And then once they're safely in, close the lid. Always make sure that every little toe is clear. I often will set the lids on and then look from underneath before I completely screw the lid on, because it's really terrible if you ever catch their toes in there and then you open it a few days later to water and they've been trapped the whole time. That's a horrible, horrible thing that I've heard of happening to more than one tarantula. Okay, I am back a day or two later. All my little baby Versies have eaten. And so I was gonna do the baby Versicolor handling tonight, as requested by a viewer, which I said in the beginning. First of all, these little guys can be total wackadoos. They are going to run, they're going to be crazy, and they also jump. So don't be freaked out, but do be prepared. They are arboreal, so prepare for the animal to climb up. I mean, honestly, I'm never afraid for a sling to bite me. I don't care what species it is. When they're this big, I just don't worry about it. Maybe that's a mistake. Use caution, please. I don't know, in my opinion, that a sling this size of any species could even really bite somebody. That's just my opinion. What I like to do is use a paintbrush. I just come in, find the animal. I try not to damage the web if I can. Come underneath it and encourage it outside of the container. And then just pretty much get in front of them and let them crawl up onto you. And sometimes they're gonna run back in or run back out. I mean, baby Versicolor are very unpredictable, but here's the bottom line. They are fast, they spook easily, and they tend to climb up. So just be prepared for them to climb up your arm and up into your hair and everything else. So I just kind of use this walking motion, and it either makes them, first of all, you can just move your hand and then they tend to run back up. There we go, it just jumped. Also know this, these little arboreal species are made to jump and to essentially parachute down. This animal is rarely going to be hurt during a fall. Is it an impossibility? No, of course. I mean, I could be struck by lightning in 10 seconds. Is it gonna probably happen? No. These animals are light and feathery, and they are made to be able to jump safely. See there, it just jumped again. Unharmed. Obviously, don't drop your baby, but if they jump like that, and usually I don't let them jump so much, but trying to watch you and I'm trying to watch the animal, and I'm also demonstrating that this animal is completely uninjured. There are many species who would be injured by a fall like that. This is a Versicolor handling video, and this species, an adult could definitely. A light little animal like this, they're designed to jump and to gently fall down. I just do what I need to do. I don't typically hold them for prolonged periods. Typically when I do, it's out of necessity, like I'm rehousing or feeding and it ran out, or for educational or demonstration purposes. I had a Versicolor in my classroom all year last year. And actually Mike Brazil just bought it and it's now living in Alamogordo, New Mexico. And I would handle that animal on occasion when I had a new group come in. I had other classes that would come into my classroom so I could do a science demonstration, and I would show all kinds of different things. But my primary motivation was to extinguish that irrational fear that spiders are ugly, evil, terrible. So, putting your baby back in the container. The easiest way is just to cup the container over them, wherever they are, and they will typically climb back up the wall themselves. If you don't have the lid ready, you can just gently cover it with your hand. If they're right on the tip and they won't go down, blow on them ever so gently, or use your paintbrush. So you can see there, it just jumped down to the bottom. Make sure there aren't any little toes in the way. Snap your lid on. Voila! Versicolor baby handling. I want to thank everyone who comments and emails and asks questions or tells me little stories. I love hearing from you, and thank you Nemanja, who I hope I'm saying your name right, so you'll have to comment below or email me again and tell me if you liked the video. I also wanted to say, if you have an HMAC, I'm not suggesting that you hold it for more aggressive species or for any species. There are many tools that you can use that I try to display in my videos almost every single time. Paintbrushes, tongs, forceps, nets, catch cups, using larger enclosures if you're gonna do a transfer and you have a really fast species, even putting the containers inside of your bathtub so you have an extra barrier. Obviously, there are all kinds of measures that you can take to care for your animal without ever touching them. Work on the floor too if you're not prepared to catch your animal off a table, especially a terrestrial species, especially a big one like a bird eater who a fall will definitely kill. Work on the floor. So anyway, hope you guys like this one. Thank you everybody, especially my most precious viewer who sent me this question. Hope you guys like this one, and I'll see you in the next video.